Hey guys, welcome back to another one. In this exercise, we're going to learn a little bit about doubles and arrays. I found this one at first extremely challenging for me, but it's very useful. So let's read the exercise really quick, then we'll get right into it. As always, I'll leave a timestamp. If you just want to jump right into the coding exercise, you can. It says exercise, write a program that creates an array to hold three values of type double. The program should collect the three double values as input and store them in an array. Then calculate the average value of the array, output the array values, add calculated average. So basically what we want to do is have the input from the user 10.0, 10.5, 11.0, and the output should look exactly like this. We have array items up here, and on a new line, we have the average output down there. So what I would encourage you to do is pause this video, think through this, think through the logic behind it, think about the syntax. For instance, you know you're going to have some doubles in there. You're going to have to work with an array. So think about that syntax and think about the steps in order, just like a recipe. What do I need to do from point A to get to point B, to get to point C, and so on until I get to the end. So think about it logically, what you should be doing, and then we'll go ahead and jump right into the coding exercise and see if we can get through this. So let's go. I am learning just as you are learning if you're just learning this. So bear with me. If you see me pause, it's because I'm thinking about what I need to do next. I don't really have this one down that well yet, but I just kind of want to code along with you guys. So you just let me know in the comments if you see anything I could do better too. I don't mind that at all. So the first thing we need to do, logical step, is they said we need to have an array that holds three double values. So let's declare that now. So we have double. I should be typing this out and not taking the shortcuts to help me remember, but here we go. Double values. We'll call it values. Equal new double. And remember that it needs to be set to 3 because that's what we need, 3 doubles, okay? So that array will store 3 doubles. Okay, logical step. What's the next thing we need to do? We have our variable values declared double, 3 set to 3. Well, the next thing we need to do is we actually need the numbers themselves. We need the doubles themselves from the user. So let's create some code where we can take that input from the user, where they input 3 numbers, and we can store them here in our values. So let's do that. Let's, instead of having the user write out, we'll write out each line of code, input your first double, input. We could just put that in a loop since we know what we're doing already as far as we need just 3 numbers. This isn't a practical program. This is just an exercise program to help you. So int I, but you can always build on this coding exercise later. You can actually, ask the user for input and exactly what you want from them. Oops, 0. So let's do our for loop. Less than 3. When I first seen this for loop, I was so confused on what this all meant, but it's once you work with it for a little bit, you understand, you see its value. So we have our for loop. This is so basically it just repeats the code inside it 3 times. That's what we're saying here. That's all we're doing. Just think of it that way. And we're gonna values, put those there. Okay, and then we need our scanner. So this is just gonna take the user input here and put it inside here. Oops, it's not letting me grab it. Inside there. So the loop will run as long as I is less than 3. So that's how long that loop is going to run. After each loop, then you add 1 to I. So this moves to the next loop. So it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy as long as you know the syntax. So the loop runs 3 times to collect 3 doubles, 3 double values from the user, and then stores them in the array. Each time the loop runs, it reads a new value from the user and puts it in the next spot in the array. So that's basically what's happening here. It's not too complicated, very simple, as long as you, like I said, you get that syntax down. So we have our input for our user to put in there. Now what do we need to do? Well, we need a sum because we're going to need to calculate that average, some basic arithmetic. But in order to calculate that average, we need a sum. So let's start with, let's just call it for what it is. It's a sum, so, let's make it easy. Double sum, we'll set that to 0.0, okay? Because we need the user to enter those 3 doubles. And what we can do again is streamline this by int I equals doing another for loop. I less than 3, I plus plus. Again, not too complicated, just like up here, how I explained it up there. That's exactly what we're doing. The loop runs through the array just like before, so nothing too scary. And then what we're going to do here is sum plus equals values. So what this is saying is that's shorthand for this. Sum equals sum plus values. It's a little confusing at first when you see this, but like I said, when you see the syntax, oops, forgot this. Sum plus values, that's all it's saying. So it's not that, it just means add the current values at values I to sum. That's all it means. It's just the plus equal operator, and it just add and assign. So each time the loop runs, the value from the array is added to sum. That's all that's happening. Okay. So the 3 user inputs of those doubles are being added to sum right there. So we have our sum. Now, logically, what is the next step we need to do? Well, we need to calculate the average now that we have our sum and we have the amount of elements we're getting, which is those 3. So to calculate an average, some basic arithmetic is you take the total amount of those elements, the sum, and you divide it by the number of elements. So just some basic arithmetic there that we should all be familiar with. So we'll just call it for what it is. Make it easy again. Double average equals, and remember, we're taking the sum, the total of all those doubles, and we're dividing it by the number of elements, which is 3.0 because it's a double. So that part is done. Now, well, we need to print everything since we have our sum, which allows us to have our average. Now we need to print everything out. So let's start with the first item, which is the array items. Just like here, they want this printed out first. And remember, pay attention, we have comma, we have a space, so we're gonna have to deal with that too. We're gonna have to add that comma in there, we're gonna have to have a space. So you have to be aware of that as well. So how are we gonna do that? Well, let's first print out the string. Array items, space, give us a little space so it's not bunched up. Now, what's interesting here is you have to pay attention here. This is where I messed up. Print line. You don't want print line because that creates a new line. And basically, you're going to have this fall under there. But that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for all in the same line. So that's why we're keeping it at print, to keep everything on the same line. Okay? So next, what we got to do is let's print out. We have to print out all the values that the user inputted exactly how they want it. So let's do that. We can do that pretty easy by creating another, you guessed it, for loop. Int I equals 0, I less than 3, I plus plus. Pretty straightforward. Okay, and now we're just gonna say, hey, print this out. Print. Remember, same line. So we're gonna do this one. We're not gonna do that one. This one. Same line. And what are we printing? What are we asking? Values. It's I. Okay. So we have that part down. So what this is gonna do is gonna print our 3 doubles. But the problem is they're asking for a comma and a space. So how are we going to achieve that? I would encourage you to pause the video if you want and just kind of think through that. How are we going to achieve getting the comma and the space in between each one of those doubles? So take a minute and think about that. I had to do the same thing and I still miss it every once in a while, but all right, let's get into this. What we can do is create a conditional. I less than 2. So we're saying if I is less than 2, and I'll explain this in a second, system.out, remember same line, print, hey, system print, there we go. Hey, I need you to print, as long as I is less than 2, I need you to print my comma and my space. Because we don't want a space or a comma after the last one, just in between those 2 doubles. So that's all it's doing. It's pretty simple. So this basically here is just checking if I is less than 2. It's not basically saying, hey, as long as it's not the last value, print out a comma and a space. But once you get to that last value, which is going to be the third, do not print the comma or the space. So it's pretty simple. It's really, really simple. Remember this loop here is just another loop to go through the through each value in the array. That's it. That's all that loop is doing. It's going through each value, and then it's printing out those values right after here. So that's all we're doing there. So the next thing we need to do is to print out our average, but you got to pay attention here as well. So they want it printed out on a new line. Remember that? They don't want this bunched up here. It's a new line with average. So how do we achieve that? Very simple. You just system.out.print line. That's it. Creates that space, that new line for us, and now we can print out our average, which is simple as well. System.out.print, and also they said they wanted it to end with a new line, so we need to put ln there. And then average. Okay, and then concatenate average. That's all it is. Really simple. Let's test this out really quick. Hopefully I didn't mess up anything. Let me see the numbers they wanted really quick. 10.0, 10.5. Okay. 10.0, enter. 10.5, enter, and 11.0. There you go. Worked as intended. You have array items printed out perfect. You have your comma, you have your space. You have the new line average with the average, which is 10.5. So everything worked as intended. Now, like I said, this isn't a practical, like you're not going to submit this as a project and be like, here you go. I mean, it's not as practical, but it's really good at teaching logic, the for loops, a little bit of doubles. You work with an array a little bit, but what you can do, in my opinion, and I would encourage you to do, is build off this. Give instructions to the user. You can implement this in some of your other projects to calculate average, to print out your array items and average. So this is a really good building block, in my opinion. This is one of the reasons why I love this exercise too, is because it just really helps solidify the fact that learning to code is just one small aspect as far as the syntax and knowing what to put down. And it's really small aspect to actually being a programmer. This right here shows you, okay, I need to really think about how to solve problems. I need to get better at solving problems, and that's where I'm at. So yeah, the syntax, it comes with the more you code. I try to do it daily as much as I can, but really thinking like a programmer, like thinking how to solve problems. How am I going to solve this problem that they're asking me here, where they're giving me these parameters? They're saying we want this and we want it this way. Well, one of the mistakes I made when I first started was just to sit down and start coding. And I was completely already frustrated and lost. So my encouragement to whoever's watching this is to, before you even start coding, maybe get a whiteboard and just start writing down the parameters. Write down, okay, they want input from a user. They want 3 inputs that holds 3 doubles. I'm going to need a double. I'm going to need to calculate. So I'm going to need some arithmetic. So just start writing down, even if it's all over the place, and then organize those thoughts into logical steps that are in order. And you can work from there. Then you can work on your syntax, and you can look up, hey, I need, Stack Overflow. What syntax for this, or how can I optimize this code by using a for loop, or some conditionals in there. So that would be my encouragement to you guys. I have more exercises coming out, a lot more that I've been working on. So if you want more of those, just hit that like and subscribe button. I'm still learning, so it may be at times like the blind leading the blind if you're still learning, so bear with me. But if there's anything else you want to learn, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to get to you. Or if you see something I can be doing better, please do not hesitate. If you're a seasoned programmer, or you've just been doing this a little bit longer than I have, please let me know in the comments below. I do not mind at all. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys listening and watching, and I'll catch you all on the next one.